Hey everybody, welcome back to School Sucks Live. With me in the studio tonight we have Cory and Osborne.
Hi.
And we're talking about psychopathy, and we're anchoring our discussion around a documentary film that we all recently saw called I Am Fishead. And before we went to the break, I was telling the story of another reptile.
Right.
The snake. And Osborne, you were right to ask during the break, where are you going with this? Right? But
It's a fair question.
It is irrational for me to be mad at snakes, right? Because they are a predator. They are going to defend themselves. But it would be silly for us to get mad at bears for eating somebody's face, because that's kind of what a bear will do, right?
Right.
And I think that what separates these types of creatures from us, aside from intelligence, is conscience. Is that fair to say? We agree?
Yes.
So, when people don't have conscience, when people don't have empathy, they are something other than what we are, and they need to be treated like predators, and we need to talk about ways to defend ourselves from them.
Yes.
Certainly stop participating in systems that lend legitimacy to them. And I felt like in the film, the current United States government and all of its systems kind of got a pass. They talked about the Nazis. They talked about the Soviets.
Did you say Nazis or Nutsies?
No, I'm saying Nazis from now on.
Okay, good.
Nazis is a new cartoon that Cory and I are making with squirrels.
Squirrels.
But I really didn't feel like they took advantage of the opportunities that they had, especially when they started talking about the pyramid structure and corruption rising through the ranks, like we always talk about in bureaucracies and police departments. They didn't really cash in on that and apply it consistently to the state. It was certainly hinted at, and Philip Zimbardo is very good at talking about the role that obedience plays in all this, which we are going to get to. But I think that this clinical explanation for the natural predators is something that it might have value for us going forward.
Yeah, I mean, they talk, like you said, they didn't, I don't think they really hit that point quite as hard as they could have as relates to the state. They talked a lot about how it's psychopaths running the corporations, and they made some, they kind of indicated that corporations are actually running the place and not the government.
Sure.
But I don't think the average person would have walked away with going, yeah, the president might be a psychopath.
Right.
Well, that's the problem when you getting this information from academic types, right?
Yes.
They're getting their paycheck from the state.
Yeah.
So how could they talk bad about it? They can talk bad about other states, particularly ones that have existed in the past.
That are gone,
but not the one that is, feeding them.
That's a good point. But because that's hard to believe, because like we talked about at the very beginning of the show, people have what they think is a clear and accurate image of the psychopath. Did you say that you pulled up Robert Hare's book?
I brought up a link to the Hare psychopathy checklist.
Okay, now, by the way, just to tie this into our previous story, the book that Robert Hare wrote was called Snakes in Suits.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there's your snakes. Do you think we should go through these? I think we should.
Yeah, I think I can. I got it right. There's two important factors that they use in determining whether someone is a psychopath. All right, the first factor is personality aggressive narcissism. Not just narcissism, but aggressive narcissism, which includes glibness and superficial charm. I'm just checking these off to make sure I don't have these. I have superficial charm. Actually, no, my charm is not superficial. It goes bone deep. Grandiose sense of self-worth.
Grandiose sense of self-worth.
I don't have that.
Well, and I guess what we're asking people to think about here is the political folks, right? The rulers.
Right.
All right, so check and check for them.
A grandiose sense of self-worth. Pathological lying. That's a little harder sell for, say, a politician, for example, because when you lie specifically to get your job done, when your job is lying, I don't know. I could see where that would attract a pathological liar. Really the definition of pathological lying is that you lie when there's nothing to gain from it.
Yeah.
These guys are definitely lying for a reason, but for somebody to be that good at lying, that there may be some pathology behind that.
Oh, there's not even a flinch, not even a hesitation in most cases.
They are cunning or manipulative.
Okay.
They lack remorse or guilt. They have a shallow affect, which means their genuine emotion, when they do exist, are short-lived and egocentric. Callousness, lack of empathy, and failure to accept responsibility for their own actions. Okay, that's just one factor. All right, they're gonna have to have numerous things off this checklist from each factor in order to.
Now, does he describe, maybe we don't have the answer to this, but does he have a way of weighting this where so many of these things plus so many of these things? That's kind of how the things work in the DSM. This, and this plus this, or is that unclear?
Let me see. A clinical rating. Well, maybe now's not the time to sort through the article
Sure,
and find the answer
no
to that,
problem.
but maybe
No problem.
when we have a chance. Anyway, factor 2, case history, socially deviant lifestyle. They have a need for stimulation or a proneness to boredom.
That's an interesting one. Okay, so the deviant lifestyle, obviously, and I want to is I don't want to just pin this all on the political types, because I think this really, really exists in the corporate world as well, and I think that these people are certainly out among us. You know,
absolutely.
We're all here in New Hampshire in the Free State Project. Who's to say that a few psychopaths haven't wandered through there?
I can think of some.
Yeah. So,
and are there not degrees of this as well? Like maybe someone is not as much of a psychopath as the next person?
You know, I may have to read a little carefully, but I think being a psychopath is something you either are or aren't.
The interesting thing.
Now, I think the degrees come in your behavior. Like, just because you're not chopping down a door with an axe to kill your family doesn't mean you're not a psychopath.
Right. Yeah, and that's what that list is kind of showing us.
Right.
But I think that given situations, as they talk about in the film, some people might be in environments, they might have jobs, they might have been raised or educated in such a way, or had certain experiences that allow them to develop strategies to tamp this down.
Right.
To keep this under control.
Or like Dexter. On the TV show Dexter.
Sure, exactly. And that...
Of course, he still murders people all the time.
But he has some kind of rationale.
He has a moral code behind it.
Right. So that's
he only murders murderers.
That's a kind of control that he's put on it.
Right.
What about a temporary psychopathy? Like maybe this week, like all of a sudden I lose all my empathy and I just want to manipulate everyone and get whatever I can. And then next week, oh crap. I can't believe I did that.
I think psychiatrically, that would be more of a psychosis and not an actual psychopathy. Psychopathy actually, from everything I've been reading, and I wasn't just reading it this week either. It's come up a bunch of times recently, and it's actually a difference in how the brain works, which is widely believed nowadays to be organic in nature and not just some kind of a maladjustment.
I think what you're talking about, too, is more situational or trauma-driven, and I think it's certainly something that is possible, and maybe you describe it as a psychosis. But from my own experience, I know through some hard times in my life, there was definitely situations where I was either ignoring emotions, not feeling things, not processing them thoroughly.
Right.
Or and I think there's a number of reasons for that, but I think a lot of people will watch this film and just have a moment or two where they say, "Ooh, is this me?
Am I a psychopath?"
Yeah. So I think that there are situations that might turn up the volume on some of these, personality flaws, personality defects that many people might be able to learn how to control, but the psychopath, is somebody who is cold and calculating and developing strategies to hide their lack of conscience and empathy in order to prey on the unsuspecting. This is School Sucks Live. We're going to pick up that list when we get back, but we'll take your call too. 843-JOIN-SSP. Skype in School Sucks Live. We're here till midnight. Plenty of time for you.
If you want to move